Taking an ancient RV from Texas to Ohio with my boyfriend's kids and ex-wife on board. What could possibly go wrong? This was Deliverance meets National Lampoon's Vacation, a story by Rachel A. Fefer, who you'll find on medium.com. Of all the insane things I've done in pursuit of the "sure, let's" lifestyle, agreeing to drive my alcoholic boyfriend's piece of shit RV to Ohio, filled with his kids, their partners, and his first ex-wife, was right up there. It ended well, but the interim sets a new gold standard for answering the age-old question, what could possibly go wrong here? As it turned out, almost everything. But it all started with the RV. That fucking thing. I'm not sure of its parentage, but we got this bastard of an RV from Vic's parents for $5,000, about $4,999 more than it was worth. It was up in Ohio, so Vic and I flew up in winter to drive it back. Yeah, we were real geniuses. Landing ahead of a snowstorm, we grabbed a quick dinner with Vic's parents and headed out for Houston, trying to stay ahead of the storm. We might have managed that if Vic hadn't gotten food poisoning at the Golden Colon or whatever bastion of botulism we stopped at. He was heaving before we left the city limits, and I had to take over. Driving a big box of air through a howling snowstorm is no picnic. Neither is gassing the fucking thing up with a minus 15-degree wind chill factor. As I'm driving out of Ohio, fingers blue on the wheel, with Vic rolling around puking and moaning in the cubby above the driver's seat, I'm thinking, this vehicle has good karma written all over it. And I was so right. A dysfunctional family dynamic. Some of the unpleasantness that made Vic what he was started with his parents. They weren't nice people, small-minded and cruel to their only son. I avoided them for the most part and wasn't thrilled about going to the huge 50th anniversary party Vic was throwing for them in Ohio. Vic was a poor boy done good and continually sought his parents' approval. His kids were reasonably well-adjusted and had nice girlfriends or spouses, so he wanted all of them there, dressed up and shiny, as another sign of his success. But he wasn't about to splash out for airfare, so he had the brilliant idea to make it a money-saving, family-fun road trip in the RV. I, of course, said, "Sure, let's." When one of Vic's cases went sideways, he had to make an emergency trip to somewhere in the Midwest right before we were going to leave. He could meet us in Ohio for the party, but I'd have to drive everyone. When he asked me if I'd do it, guess what I said? Yeah, that. It started Thursday night. I knew his 3 boys and their girlfriends or wives were coming, and we were all getting ready to go when another car rolled up in front of the house. Vic had failed to mention the boy's mother, his first ex-wife, was coming along too. I don't know why, and after what happened, I didn't ask. She was no fan of mine, for whatever reason, probably because I felt bad for her and wasn't very good at hiding it. Vic told me, in no uncertain terms, that after having the twins and then one more, she'd gained a lot of weight and gotten depressed, and he'd divorced her. Yeah, he was a real asshole, and I was getting to the point where I wondered if she wasn't the lucky one. I wasn't married to the guy, but inertia is a very strong force in my life, and it had taken hold in a big way here. But I digress, as always. Even though she wasn't my biggest fan, I've spent lots of time in rooms with hostile people as a commercial litigator, and I viewed her as one more body to load and move. As long as she was okay with it, I didn't give a shit. The 7 of us piled in and headed out of Houston on Thursday afternoon for a party in Ohio on Sunday. We got there, but not by RV. We didn't even get through Louisiana. Back in the mid-90s, you didn't need leaving Texas, entering Louisiana signs. You could tell from the roads. Within a mile of the border, Louisiana's roads absolutely sucked. Rutted, patched, and pitted, they were no fun with good suspension. The RVs, of course, sucked, and I think the chassis vibrations may have caused what happened next. Trucking along at 65 miles per hour or so, I felt or heard a clunk from the engine compartment, and a cloud of fog erupted from the front end. That steam from the radiator was followed by black smoke, and I started looking for a place to pull over fast. Luckily, we weren't on one of Louisiana's many bayou bridges, and I got off safely before things got too much worse. I popped the hood and, while I waited for the smoke to clear, I looked underneath. Water was pouring out of the radiator compartment, and I knew this thing was mortally wounded. In one of the bizarre coincidences that fill my life, we were across the highway from a backwoods truck stop complex. I saw the game room sign first and headed there, so I knew we'd at least have drinks, whatever came. Louisiana's full of these fruit machine places where you win coupons from putting cash in the machines and exchange those for goods, both licit and illicit. Trust me, I've done the research. Beyond that, there was an aluminum aircraft hangar-looking structure with a garage sign over the door. It was closed at 1 a.m., but that beast of an RV wasn't going another inch without coughing up a lung and dying, so I figured, what the fuck? Might as well get some beer and wait here until they open. Let them take a look. And that's what we did. I wasn't going to lose track of this bunch. They were their father's children, and in a good mood to boot, so I sent one of the boys to get beer and snacks. The rest were confined to quarters with promises of rewards for good behavior. I know how to be persuasive and entertaining, thank God. We stayed up all night screwing around and met the owner when he arrived early Friday morning. I'm sure we looked lovely. I explained our trip to Ohio plan as he looked at the RV, and when I heard him chuckle, I knew we were fucked. The fan blade had broken, producing shrapnel that shredded the radiator panel. This RV was old, but he thought he might know where to find one that would work, and I let him go off and do that. In the meantime, I started calling car rental companies and airlines. We were getting to Ohio, come hell or high water. Hell it is then. Lucius, the wonderful Louisiana mechanic, couldn't find the parts, and I couldn't find a rental car company that could deliver a van that far out. So I asked him, "Can you spot weld the biggest holes and touch up the small ones so the radiator holds pressure while I limp it back to Houston?" He could, and he did, finishing up late Friday afternoon. I had the boys load up on beer, etc., just in case we got stranded again, and we started back towards Houston at 30 miles per hour max. By this time, Vic's money-saving plan had me in the hole for almost $2,000, not counting the mental anguish. This was pre-internet, but I had my cell phone, and the boys were using it on the trip back to call Southwest and Continental looking for flights. The trip back took 6 hours versus the 2 spent on the way out. We got to my townhouse in time to dump the RV out front, thus enraging my neighbors, and grab 2 cars to head for Hobby Airport. At the counter, I played pick a credit card, any card, with the agent, and got 8 tickets for the plane. We all made it to Ohio fine. The only casualty was my gargoyle sunglasses that got left behind on the Southwest Airlines ticket counter. I got all misty-eyed with gratitude when the last ticket purchase went through, and I'd taken them off to wipe my face. The takeaway. Once again, that's for you to decide. I just like to tell funny stories. But I think always inspect your RV before leaving home and don't sweat the small stuff are two I got out of this. Hope you enjoyed the trip. God knows I didn't. Now I'll let you get on with your travels. Make it a good one, make a plan, but remember to have a sense of humor about where you end up and to see where I go next. Just stay tuned. There's always more. Thanks for listening. I'm Kris Kepler, and I hope you enjoyed listening to these stories as much as I enjoyed narrating them. I'd love for more people to hear these wonderful stories, so please share and tell your friends.